Hey everybody, it's Jimmy from Joint Ops Properties again. In this YouTube video, I'm going to continue with some numbers and actual case study on the same concept I did in another video called Real Estate Investing and Whole Life Insurance, the Great and One. This will be the case study. Me and Ryan did this all in one thing, but it turned into a 40-minute YouTube video, and we don't like to put videos out that long. So these are the actual numbers. If you like the concept and you've already watched the other video, this will just put numbers with the concepts. This will put numbers with the concepts, and I think you'll get a sense of why we ask all our investors to get one of these policies, why we have policies ourselves, and we think this could add fire to any real estate investor's portfolio. We recorded the case study yesterday. After I had a day to think about it, we put some appreciation numbers up there. We say it appreciates 3% a year. I know that's a standard real estate number, but to be honest with you, I am not paying my bills with appreciation, or do I really believe in appreciation, because it's not guaranteed, and we all learned at '08, it's not guaranteed. But I tell you what is guaranteed, part of the dividends that you're going to get from your whole life policy. You'll see at the end of the webinar that maybe the numbers with the whole life are a little more secure, a little more guaranteed, and they're higher number. And the other, once you get into the video, see this, we amortize the loan we take from our policy to a 30-year amort with a bank. But that is not how you pay back your whole life policy loans. Your whole life policy loans, everything goes to principal first and then interest. So you control all your principal, and it adds several more options to how you use these policies. But that gets way too complex for this case study. So I hope you enjoy the case study. I hope you're interested in these numbers, and I hope this is informative. Thanks for your time.
Now let's put some numbers to that, because let's do just a really simple analogy and put some numbers to that, because that on paper, when we stack it up, man, it looks like we just put a bunch of stuff on this sheet of paper here saying, okay, we've got all these benefits, but let's just do a quick case study here to kind of go through this. So I lined it up, and what we're going to do here is we're going to talk about buying a piece of property. And we're going to buy the property the same way in both of these examples. We're just going to add on that and asset discussion over here. So to keep the numbers really simple, let's say we're going to buy a property for $100,000. And we're going to say we're just going to buy it cash outright. We're not going to use leverage or anything like that. We're just going to buy the property cash outright. We're going to say we're going to hold this for a long period of time. So for the next 30 years, it's going to be part of our portfolio. We're going to assume that the appreciation of this property appreciates by 3% per year, and that it cash flows at $1,000 per month into perpetuity, right? We're not going to factor in, increasing the rents or anything like that. Like I said,
that's with the bank loan or without a bank loan?
So just cash. We're just going to say I've got $100,000 in the bank. I'm going to take that $100,000. I'm going to buy this property and own it with cash. No leverage. We'll keep this pretty simple. Yeah, we could definitely do a bank loan. That'll just add a level of complexity. But so what we'll do is, no matter how we buy it, right, whether we use a bank loan or not, we're going to buy the property the exact same way in both scenarios. So whether we use leverage or we don't use leverage, the acquisition of the property is going to be the exact same thing. That make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
So, all right, so I'm going to pull up a couple calculators, and this is where we want to keep it pretty simple here, but I'm going to bring up a future value calculator. And this will kind of help us track the value of the property over time.
And these are the truth concepts calculators, right?
Yeah, truth concepts calculators. And man, if anyone out there wants calculators that will help you understand the math and the numbers of anything from real estate to life insurance to stock market investing, man, this system is probably one of the best systems out there. All right, we're going to also do a payment calculator, and this will help us understand our cash flow. So let's say, first thing, and let me put these calculators on the top here so they stay on. All right, cool. So let's start off with appreciation, right? If we buy the property, and let's say we're going to buy the property for $100,000, right? So we're going to take this property and put $100,000 in there, and we said it was going to appreciate at 3% over 30 years. So the first profit center that we have here is at the end of 30 years, our appreciation would have gone to $242,726, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's believable to me unless there's some serious monetary reform, and it doesn't look like that's going to happen.
Yeah, and the thing, and we can go so many different angles with real estate, especially over a long period of time. The thing that we're going to remember here is the acquisition of the property is going to be the exact same on both sides of the transaction. So if we added in more appreciation or less appreciation or increase in rents or decrease, that'll be the same on both sides. We're just going to say, okay, what if I do it with a better system on the other side?
Right.
So the next thing that we're going to take into consideration here is we're going to use our payment calculator, and we're going to say, okay, we're earning let's see if I've got that right. Let's do the other calculator here. So we're going to take a payment. Let's clear this off. We're going to say, okay, we're earning $1,000 of cash flow every single month on this property, and we said we're going to hold it for 30 years, right? So 360 months. So really, really simple analogy here. We're earning $360,000 now in this example. Let's pull that calculator back up there. All right, so if we add everything up here, the 360 and the 242, our total profit in this example is $502,726. So again, $500,000, we invest $100,000 on the forefront, right? So our total profit in this example is going to be right around $400,000, okay? So now the question is, what if we take the same property, but we just have a better system, right? So we're going to bring the appreciation over. It's going to be the exact same thing. The property is going to appreciate to 242, what did we say it was? 726, I think. But now our cash flow is going to be a little bit different, right? So Jimmy, kind of for the viewers here, explain how the policy loan works just from a very basic standpoint.
So you'd have $100,000 in your bank or your pocket. You then put the $100,000 into a policy. It's real simple. You just add one transaction. You put the $100,000 into your policy first. Then you take a policy loan for $100,000 and then buy the house with that.
Okay, you got it. Pretty simple, right? So now when we take a policy loan, the insurance company, you've already taken a loan on your policy. Did the insurance company, did they ask you what you were doing, why you were taking a loan, anything like that?
There's one email. There was no underwriting. There was no send me your balance sheet. There was no send me your rent roll. It was very simple.
Pretty simple, right? And so on us, the responsibility rests on us to have a method to pay back that loan. So let's assume every single month as we're getting that money in from cash flow from the piece of real estate, that we're taking a portion of that cash flow and we're paying back a loan over 30 years, just like a mortgage. So the insurance companies today are charging about 5%. So let's change this to a monthly thing. So what you've got here in this calculator, we're taking a $100,000 loan balance, so a policy loan. We're being charged 5% by the insurance company, and we're going to do this over 360 months. So every single month as we get our $1,000 cash flow, we're going to take $534 of that and send it back to the insurance company to pay off our loan. Does that logic make sense?
Right.
Okay. So here's where on the surface it might look like we're not, we don't have a very good system here, right? If we take $1,000, which is our monthly cash flow, and we minus out 534.59, our true cash flow in this example now after expenses is 465, right? So if we take that 465 and we multiply that by 360, our total profit over this 30-year time frame is $167,000. Okay, so let's write that in here.
I mean, once you really get into this, you can make these numbers look better because unlike a bank, you're paying interest only.
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
Once you get sophisticated with it, you can do a lot more than... We're just trying to do a simple, basic example to show how the system can work.
Right, so we're going to take these two up here. We're going to take our 167, 547 plus our 242, 726. In this example now, we end up with $410,000, 410,273. So 410,273 minus our $100,000 purchase price to begin with. So we end up with about $300,000 after expenses, after profit on this. And if we look at this on the surface now and we say, okay, look, we ended up with $500,000 minus $100,000 and $400,000 minus $100,000. So we ended up with about $100,000 more profit over here. So on the surface, it might look like, okay, why would I use this policy? But let's go down and let's remember, hey, our money is actually working in two places at the same time. Here's what we got from the real estate, but our money was also working inside of the policy at the very same time, right? So this and asset discussion here. So let's bring back the future value calculator, and then we'll kind of add this up here. All right, so let's clear this off. So on our $100,000, that $100,000, when we take a policy loan, the money doesn't come out of our insurance policy, right, Jimmy?
Right. It comes out of the pool of the insurance dollars.
You got it. So the insurance company lent you the money, and they used your policy as collateral. So your $100,000 never came out of your policy. And in fact, it continued to compound the entire time you had the loan outstanding. So that $100,000, your cash value 30 years from now is now $432,194. So $100,000 compounding at 5%, right?
That is tax-free.
Tax-free. That's a huge, huge benefit there.
Where else, investment-wise, can you get a tax-free compounding investment?
And that's huge, man. I mean, from a tax standpoint, there's really only 3 places that you can truly get tax-free growth on an investment, and 2 of them are under the control of the conspiracy side of things, right? You can get tax-free growth in a Roth IRA, but that's controlled by the government. You can get tax-free growth in bonds, municipal bonds, again, also controlled and backed by the government. Life insurance is the only privatized investment that you can make that will give you tax-free growth, and there's unlimited contributions to it. But there's contribution limits to that. I mean, there's so many restrictions on that it doesn't work for a lot of people, right? And then once the money's there, we go back to the inflation side of things. It's kind of stuck there, right?
And I did do a self-directed IRA to do the same exact thing that I've done with my life insurance policy. And the self-directed IRA, which I guess is a Roth, I'm so far down the life insurance hole that I don't really care, but it was an absolute pain.
Yeah, you got it. And there's so many parameters around that.
Yeah. They wanted to know my business. I have to report everything. It's just a headache and more paperwork, and I want to go create more things, and I don't want to do free labor for the IRS.
Yeah, it comes down to who's really in control of it, right? Your life insurance, when you took a loan, the money was in your account within a couple days. They didn't ask you a single question. They didn't want to know when you're paying the loan back, how you're paying it back. It's 100% up to you, right?
And we can do another webinar bagging on qualified plans.
Yeah, so. we can take that one down to the ground, but we'll need some time to do that. So let's go back to this last thing here, and this is better banking, right? And we talked about in the beginning, most real estate investors, they just use banks by default because they want their money safe and they want their money liquid, and they feel like banks are the best vehicle to do that. So in this example up here, our cash flow, right, we didn't get as much cash flow because we were paying back the loan over a period of time. So that $1,000, let me get my mouse here, that $1,000 that we're collecting in rent every single month, we said we were going to send $536.82 back to the insurance company to pay off our loan just as if it were a mortgage. But that leaves us with $463 extra cash flow. Again, most investors are just going to stick that in the bank and say, okay, I'm going to save that money and get ready for my next acquisition. But could we not take that $436, could we not also put it in a policy, right? So let's kind of run through this and say, okay, if we had a policy that allowed us to put $464, it earns 5%, and we do this every single month over 360 months, that 464 is going to grow to 387. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's finish off this analogy. 387, 777. Okay, so the 3 numbers that we now get to add up with this and one strategy is we ended up with $410,000 of profit from our real estate, but we also ended up with $432,000 profit inside of our policy, and then an additional $387,000 profit inside of our policy by using a better system. Plus,
and then that calculator is not calculating as interest only, right?
No, it's not calculating interest only. This is you paying down, so the value of your policy loan will be extinguished after 30 years. So it's just like a mortgage.
So the numbers are actually better in reality.
Yeah, I mean, in this example here, and this is why, I mean, I wanted to keep it pretty simple. But if we, let's see, if we did I add that on uprights? Yeah, add that. So if we go...
For a bank, you pay interest first and then principal. These, you pay principal first, then interest.
You got it.
So the interest charge is going to be significantly low.
So here's kind of the analogy here, right? We bought the exact same property in both examples. The exact same property. In this example, we bought it with cash, it appreciated, and we had our cash flow. So $500,000 profit minus our $100,000 investment, $402,726. In this example here, we bought the same property, but we used a policy loan. So we had the $100,000 sitting inside of policy. We ended up with $410,000 of profit minus our $100,000 original investments. We had our cash value grow to 432 over that period of time, and we had a place to put our additional cash flow that grew to 387. So in this example, the same property, we just used a better system. We ended up with a $1.1 million profit. That is more than 100% increase just by doing this a better way.
I like it.
That makes sense?
That's why I bought 5 policies.
Yeah, that's exactly right, man. You hit the ground running with that. But that's the strategy here. And I think, Jimmy, correct me if I'm wrong, when you were first introduced to this concept, I think you came across Nelson Nash and his whole mindset. And he wrote a book, and he calls this concept infinite banking. For me, that's how I was introduced to this as well. I read Nelson Nash's book, and he calls it infinite banking. And I love that name for it, because if you think about this, we just replaced banks, right? We still had to act with the same level of responsibility, but we were the bank here. So we want to understand how banking works and how to approach our investments strategically. But once we understand that, the possibilities are infinite. You can use this for anything. I mean, for you, Jimmy, we've talked about paying down debt, putting kids through college, maybe, depending on how they want to be educated. Whatever it is, you can use this for anything.
Yeah, you worked this case study through when we were first talking. These numbers are great, and it's a case study, and we're not using a bank to finance the property initially, and the end numbers aren't that important. It's the concept, it's the system.
You got it. Couldn't agree with you more, Jimmy. So hopefully that kind of gives people that are watching this a little something to think about. And to your point, it's the system, right? It's about having what you're going to do, but having a better system to operate everything that you do.
Yeah, I mean, go back down to those final numbers. Yeah, I don't want anyone to come to us and be in 30 years and be like, you said I was going to make $1.1 million on this. That's not what we're saying. We're saying get this concept down, get control of your dollars, and especially if you're already a real estate investor, you're already doing this. Just get your and one.
You got
Maximize returns on what you're already doing.
You got it. Jimmy, I appreciate you having me on the webinar, man. Hopefully this was a good case study here to go through.
I loved it. If every real estate investor that sees this doesn't get a policy, I'll be shocked.
Okay, man. Well, let's start talking to real estate investors. Let's make this happen.
All right. Thanks, man.
Okay, guys. Take it easy.
See ya.